All right, let's do this quick because you can literally see daylight is fading. I live in a cave and this is like the small amount of daylight that I have. So let's hit this. So last time I talked all about my review of my first stiff book of the year, which was Morning Time, A Liturgy of Love with Cindy Rollins. Today I want to talk to you about what morning time actually looks like in our home with a 3-year-old and the fact that I am a mom who works full-time. This is definitely not a picture perfect routine, and I don't want you to think that I do all of these things every day, which I will touch on. If you've ever thought, yeah, I love the idea of morning time, but I don't have time for that, this does not fit into my life, then this is for you. So if you have a 3-year-old, or if you've ever had a 3-year-old, you know that they wiggle, they can be busy. Sometimes mornings can be a little bit hectic, especially when you have to get out of the house at a certain time. So I know that I'm not going to get a picture perfect morning time every single day. And I also know that I have a young child. So I'm not going to do things like Shakespeare and Plutarch that maybe some people who have older students are going to do. Ours looks a little bit different. Really, my goal is to create a short, peaceful anchor for our day, and to sort of have that one-on-one time or that family time before we all kind of go our separate ways. So for us in our house, we call morning time breakfast and books. Sometimes we sit on the couch, sometimes we sit on the table, we eat our breakfast, and then I have a basket of books that we go through. So I have sort of 4 categories that I go through or that I attempt to go through each day. And I'll break down the resources that I use for each one. What I want you to remember is I'm not doing every category every day, and I'm not doing every book in every category in every day. This is just sort of the resources that I have available to me that sit in the basket in our home. So first is Bible, which we have a few different resources for. Primarily, we use the Jesus Storybook Bible by Sally Lloyd-Jones. This one has been a really big hit. I heard a lot of great things about it before I bought it. It's illustrated, it's colorful, it holds her attention, and it's a nice, gentle introduction, I think, to Bible time for a young child. We also have the Tommy DePaulo Bible stories, which I don't use as frequently. Maybe if it's something that I really wanted to double up on a story, like around Christmas time or around Easter time, I'll kind of read a couple of different versions of it, or maybe I might like one version in one book better. And then we also have 2 picture books. Now, these aren't Bibles. These aren't Bible stories. They're just one's called Good Morning God and Good Night God. These are a huge hit. And I think they're just cute little stories and just a cute little way to start the day, sometimes end the day as well. The other category is poetry or fables. So first in this category is Children's Garden of Verses. This is on every list I've ever seen, like every Charlotte Mason list. I think it's on John Senior's 1,000 Good Book list. So this is a very popular poetry book. We don't use this one as often. Again, this one I think I will use if I've picked out a particular poem for a reason, but it's not one we use as often yet. I can see us using it a lot more as I have older children, but the illustrations are beautiful. It is a beautiful book, and it's one that I'm really happy that we do have. We also have Eloise Wilkins' Poems for the Very Young. This one is a huge, huge hit. I would say if you have never read any poetry with your children and you want to read poetry with them, this is a great one to start. The copy I have is a board book, and we have read this one cover to cover multiple times. When I take this one out, we will read multiple poems a day. She recognizes some of the poems. It's got great pictures. I think they're really relatable to young children. There's this one in there about a child like wanting to extend their bedtime and saying like, can I have 5 minutes more? And I think it's just so relatable to toddlers. So this one has been really, really nice. Sometimes my child will ask for poems and she means this book. She wants this book when she asks for poems. So it's been really, really great. And then we have Julie Andrews' Treasury for All Seasons. I love Julie Andrews, so I bought this book purely because of Julie Andrews. It's been really nice to kind of have this to do fun seasonal themes and poems. So it's broken out by seasons and months. So, you know, if you have holidays in the month like Christmas or Halloween, even Groundhog Day had its own poem, or President's Day or MLK Day, things like that. There are poems for those days that have been written by others that align to those days. So it's really nice to sort of read those poems. And then also when, you know, the leaves change colors, there are poems about fall, there are poems about winter, summer, there's a poem about baseball. So it's just a lot of fun to read different types of poems about certain things. And then we have Mother Goose. So I have 2 different versions of Mother Goose. I have the Tommy DePaulo version, and then I have another Mother Goose that I found at a library book sale. Before I found the bigger version that I have, illustrated by Scott Gustafson, I think. I was primarily using the Tommy DePaulo version, and I didn't realize this, but it was an abridged version, so nothing bad about that. We love Tommy DePaulo around here, but I have been looking for another one, so I was really happy when I found that copy at the library, and this is the one that we primarily use, the big version. I think just the fact that it's so large is just so nice for a small child. And again, in this one, there are certainly some favorites, some that I get asked to read again and again and again. And the pictures are so cute. And my last category is a picture book. So sometimes I pick the picture book if I want to read a particular book that day. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I let my child pick the picture book. It just totally depends. Now that you know the categories, really just thinking about how I make this work as a working mom, I have kind of three main things that I think about every time. Number one, I do not aim for daily perfection. In my mind, if I can get one thing done that day, if I get one category, one book read, one poem read, something like that, it was a success. I know our mornings can be crazy, especially if I'm working outside of the home that day. Those are the days that I'm really aiming for. I just want to read one thing. And if I don't get to it that day, it's okay. A few times a week counts. Secondly, I keep the books visible. So they're always in a basket, which is in our living room. Sometimes even the night before, I'll pick out a few and I'll put them on the couch or on the table if I know that those are the ones I want to read the next day. Everything is within reach. I'm not scrambling to run around and get things once we have breakfast. I'm editing and doing some other footage right now, and I forgot to mention one of the things that also really helps is I use the post-it note method basically. So instead of saying, okay, we're going to read this story today and kind of plan out my week that way, I literally just put in a post-it note of where we left off, or like a little piece of paper. I read that story, I move it to the next story, and then I close the book, and then I just move on. So I use that for every single book that I have. That way I'm not having to worry about what is it that I'm reading that day, but I can instead just pick it up and go. And I do think that makes it a lot easier as well. And lastly, I go with the flow, right? Like in a perfect world, I would start with Bible, and then we would do a poem, and then maybe we read a fable, and then we'd go into a book or whatever. But sometimes she wants to read the picture book first, and that's okay. So if it's something that she's excited about, what I want is I am trying to instill a love of, let's come to the table, let's share these books together, let's share these beautiful ideas together, not mom said we have to read this book first. This is not the time for that. So I think just kind of going with the flow and being flexible and saying, you know, I've put out this feast of these few books that we're going to read today. If you want to start with Mother Goose and read Peter Piper for the 45th time, cool, we'll do that. That's totally fine. I'm okay with that. And so I think that's just sort of letting go. And for moms that are maybe a little type A like myself, that's kind of a hard lesson to learn, but it's really worth it. So if you are a working mom, I really just want you to kind of use this as encouragement that it's not going to be perfect every day. You can still have morning time in your home, even if you have to be somewhere at a certain time, even if you have young kids, even if you work outside of the house. Your kid does not need a bunch more activities to do. They don't need screen time in the morning. They just really want to hang out with you. And I think that sharing books over breakfast and having this morning time is just a wonderful way to do that. And as Cindy Rollins reminds us, just keep plotting. Just keep doing it every single day. Not every day will look perfect. It will not get done every day, but just keep going. So if you're a working mom navigating sort of early childhood and trying to figure out how to do some of this stuff while you're also working full time, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on how you do morning time, or even if you're not a working mom, I'd love to hear how you do morning time with young kids. And if this video encouraged you in any way, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Cheers.